whatever we want the other person to feel, whatever we want the other animal to feel, is a feeling that we can create in ourselves first.
Hi and welcome to Lead Well.
What if your team, your manager, your employee, your colleague, your family at home could feel your stress level before you even said a word? This is exactly what animals do. I have come across so many situations, especially in the horse world, where the horse was absolutely freaked out, frightened, and the person standing next to the horse started screaming at them, "Hey, stop! There is nothing to be afraid of." And my first thought always was, do you think that this makes the horse less afraid? Because they react to our tension, they react to our mood, they don't react to our words. And that happened to me in the past as well. So I came across a dog, and the dog was obviously pretty aggressive. And I got frightened, and I'm like, hey, there is nothing wrong. I won't do anything. But inside me, I was so afraid. The dog and all animals, and also people, they feel what is underneath. So the interesting thing is that our presence is what is important. People around us, and especially our animals, they don't react to what we pretend to be. They don't react to the words we're saying, but to the underlying energy. And it's so important to understand that, especially when you're working with animals like I do in the trust technique and now also in Somatics. The thing is that we can only work with them in a calm environment if we first are able to remain calm or to actually regulate our inner state down. So it really matters. And it also matters when we work with people because, again, people react to what you do and to how you are instead of to what you say. So they can read between the lines because they can sense your energy, they can sense your state. Now, this is what is so important to understand when working with animals and when working with other people, that it's upon us to be able to self-regulate and to be able to recognize the state that we're in. Because only then we can transmit the message that we want to transmit. And I think that's the most important here. If you want to influence someone else, be it an animal or a person, if we want to have an impact on someone else, then the best thing to do is really go first. And go first is not only say what to do, it's not only doing what to do, but it's also doing it in an energetic state that we want the other person to be in. And we cannot do that with pressure, because when we try to control the other being, then the other person and the animals, they only do what we want them to do because they're probably afraid of us. And as soon as they get afraid of something else more than afraid of us, they will no longer be with us. So we have lost them. We have no connection there. The only way to have a real connection, the only way to have a real cooperation is when we are grounded, when we have the ability to be calm and clear and invite the other being to cooperate in a very calm and clear way. And this is really something that then also builds trust. Trust is not built on coercion. Trust is not built on pressure. Trust is built when we do what we are saying and we feel what we are saying, and we always are true to our word, and we always are there for the other to help them, to support them. It's so interesting to see. A client of mine, she's working with her dog, and it's a bit of a tricky situation with them because they have a longer period of the dog being really, really sensitive, and the dog gets easily overwhelmed. And for him, it shows in aggression. He is barking. He also probably would attack other dogs. And then the human who is going out with him, she gets really angry and really excited as well. And it's a spiral, and they're spiraling up. It's so interesting to observe when I'm there with them and I give this level of support, that I create a space of peace, of calmness. The person can stay calm even if the dog starts barking, for example. The reaction of the dog is so different because the dog does not get a confirmation that he was right, that he did the right thing, barking at someone else or at another dog. So, whatever we want the other person to feel, whatever we want the other animal to feel, is a feeling that we can create in ourselves first. And feelings and emotions are contagious. So we share those emotions. And this is, by the way, the basis of the trust technique. That's what we work on. This idea, or this recognizing that we share feelings more than words. James French always says, before we had words, it was so much easier for us to communicate because we would understand this feeling level much better. And our animals still do. And once we learn to pay more attention to this feeling level, we then also have an easy way to interact with people. Because, yes, with people, we can use words. But at the end of the day, there will always be this feeling, hey, that person is really not walking their talk, as we say. So the people that are working with you and the family that is living with you, or your friends, and also your animals, as I said before, they understand the state that you're in. They understand, are you stressed out? Are you relaxed? Even if you're not talking. So when you recognize your own state, this is the very first step, making sure that you recognize your own state and be really brutally honest with yourself. And then start regulating it. Because it's not only self-care. As I've mentioned before, our body is just not made to be in a very excited state for a longer period of time. Our body is made so that we can react really quickly, defend ourselves, or run away when there is danger. But most of the time, we are in this state of what's called rest and digest, and I would call it thrive and survive, where our body takes care of itself. So I truly believe that it's really our duty to not only become aware of our own state of mind, but also become able to regulate our own emotions. And this is why in my podcast, I am giving you more and more ideas and more little things, micro resilience breaks that you can use to regulate before interacting with others. And again, it can be people and it can be animals, because at the end of the day, it doesn't make any difference. Now, what can you do? So when you are in a conversation and you feel that you are probably a bit more nervous or more angry or more agitated than you should be, because again, we can have a really calm conversation only when we are in a calm state of mind. The easiest thing you can do is take a big, deep breath before you start speaking. Maybe even 3 breaths, because it takes about 10 seconds for your system to regulate down. The other thing that you could do is just stand there and for 10 seconds, look inward and do a little body check. So, how are your feet on the ground? What are your legs feeling like? Your pelvis, your torso, your shoulders, arms, and your head. And do that so that you concentrate on your body, concentrate on your being. And this will regulate your nervous system. And the power is to really be there, because sometimes when we are really agitated, we can only react to things. And we spent a lot of time talking about that already. That reacting, this reactivity comes from a place within you that is not your prefrontal cortex, not the part of your brain that is for deep thinking, but it comes more from the limbic system. So the one that is emotional, the one that is just reacting, that is not really thinking about what it's saying. This is why I feel it's so important when you are in conversation, especially when you're in a debate or even an argument, then take your time and do an introspection and make sure that when you say something, the more you say it after having thought about it, and you can only think about it if that part of the brain is really active. And at the same time, make sure you are in the correct state to say it. And again, if I'm really angry talking to my dog, I cannot expect a calm reaction. If I'm really nervous sitting on my horse, I cannot expect a calm reaction. And the same is true for my children, and the same is true for my teammates and my colleagues. And so to me, this is why I so often talk about the autonomic nervous system and how to regulate and how to make sure that you first recognize your state, and how important it is to first recognize your emotions and then also be able to regulate them so that you can interact with others the way you want it. So, how about you reflect a bit this week? Maybe first of all, look back at a conversation or 2 conversations that you had last week where you felt, well, I could probably have done a bit differently. And in retrospect, think about it. What could you have been doing differently to have that conversation in a different state of mind? And then going forward, think about a conversation you'll be having this week and one that could be a bit difficult maybe. Or think about a situation that you might run into with your animal and go through it in your mind and make sure that you already prepare mentally for it, and do some of those little exercises like take a deep breath, think about the situation again, take a deep breath, because then when the situation comes up, you'll be prepared. I'm really curious if there is anything that you have experienced already where you felt differently from what you have said and your counterpart, your partner, your animal has reacted not to your words, but to your feelings. So let's all work on our emotions, and let's make sure that going forward we can all lead well and live well and have a wonderful week. Thanks for now.
This was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below, and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.